everybody, my name is Soulless Convoy. Today I'm taking a look at Newage's H21W Karate Kid. Here is a quick look at the box, general Newage box. This is their Shattered Glass Soundwave, and it is on loan to me from Slow Love. So thank you, Slow Love, for letting me take a look at this. I picked it up for him actually, and he's letting me review it before I ship it over. So, and thank you to a friend for hooking me up with this at TFCon to make all this possible. This is, again, the version of Shattered Glass Soundwave. I have actually handled the mold before, but I've never reviewed it. So this is the first time I'm reviewing it on my channel. Let's take a look at him by himself first. Let's move the tapes out of the way. We'll come back to those guys. So getting in close on the head sculpt, I gotta say the head sculpt is pretty good. I like the green. The headband is of course molded and static. It's not bad. It's not bad. It looks pretty good, I think. This version of the mold actually fixes an issue I have with the other versions where there's no seam between the visor and like the head crest, which is nice. The blue paint is done really well. The silver paint is done really well. There's really good sculpt overall, but the head sculpt is a little bit off. I don't know what it is. There's something about it. This guy is like covered in like this white painted finish. It's pretty good. The blue paint is good. You know, you've got some silver accents, you've got green accents, you've got blue accents. For the most part, the paint is done pretty well. He's entirely coated in this pearlescent finish, by the way, so it's not bad. A little bit of gappiness in the back that I know people get upgrade kits for, but honestly, this does not bother me too much. Something else I'll talk about that people get the upgrade kits for does bother me. And you have some slight silver here, silver there. Original owner applied a faction logo, which I was too lazy to remove. But for the most part, it looks pretty good. Let me zoom out and we can get started on articulation. So in terms of articulation, it's pretty solid. You've got a ball jointed head that can look all the way up, right? However, and of course, you know, it can look, you know, to the side, tilt, but because of this cannon right here, it gets in the way, and I'm not removing the cannon for this because the cannon is like an iconic part of Soundwave's look, so I feel like it's not really fair. There's also a hinge underneath the head for transformation, which is quite loose, so you could technically get him like, you know, but nobody really wants to do that. But, you know, it's not bad. You can't really look down that much, unfortunately. It would have been nice with the neck if you could look down more, but for the most part, it's fine. The shoulders just on ball joints. They go out 90, you know, 360 around, the usual. This can also untab. It's a transformation joint, and you can like fake a butterfly, but it looks obviously terrible and it's not very effective. There's a double jointed elbow that gets you the full run. I know they're loose on some copies. On mine, the shoulder ball joints could be tighter. Bicep swivel. And then you have a ball jointed wrist that can go down, as well as do the usual, you know, swiveling as always. The cassette door does open. I'll talk about that in the gimmicks. It's kind of hard to get it open right now. And he has an ab crunch, which gets you, I want to say, from here to 90. So he has a 90-degree ab crunch, a little bit looser than I'd like usual. This mold, for some reason, just runs loose, I think. Single jointed hip skirt, unfortunately, opens up ball jointed hips that get you almost out to 90. Farther than 90 forward, actually, which is nice. And then a back jointed permanent skirt, which gets you back to 80. Which gets you back to 85 degrees. Sorry, I'm just mentally blanked for a second. We also have a thigh swivel, and we have a knee joint. 90-degree knees, not really. I don't know why this guy feels a bit limited in that regard. I'm not sure if I have something mistransformed. No, I don't. He really does just have 90-degree knees. Not ideal, I guess, but they can also go forward. So there's that. Not great though, not great. I was expecting like at least 9. This is like 88 degrees of the knee or something. I don't know, a protractor. He has an ankle tilt, which goes to 90, and then no foot articulation of any sort. Took a bit longer on that than I wanted to actually. He's not bad posability wise. He's a dated Newage figure. This is after all H21, and right now we're on like H60 something, so it is kind of old. But you know, the articulation is not particularly fantastic, but it's also not bad. There's enough there for the basics. In terms of accessories, we have the shoulder cannon. Now, of course, the shoulder cannon is a problem. Normally in an articulation review for a Soundwave, talk about how the cannon can go side to side, up and down. This one is pinned, pegged in on a 3mm right here, and it can't elevate. It also can't, like, it sits way too far forward, which is what the upgrade kits are for. You plug the cannon in back here, and then there's like a thing where you can start like tilting up and down. It looks infinitely better. So that's just one issue. He comes with a blaster that he can hold, and he has alternate hands. Now, the alternate hands are a bit of a problem. You have to switch them out by popping out ball joints. He has a pair of these splayed open hands that early Newage figure comes with that I hate because they're just like completely splayed, so they're very limited in terms of display options, as opposed to the usual grasping open hand that modern Newage figures have. I'm not sure if this is my copy, but he has one pointing hand, and then he has one, it's like a right hand sculpt for pushing down his cassette door button. The button does not push down, by the way, he just has the button, but he can push it so it can simulate opening his cassette door. Speaking of that, we should probably get into the cassettes. The door open. Sorry, I have no fingernails. This is a little bit more difficult. He comes with 3 cassettes. You have Enemy, who is not classically a Shattered Glass cassette, but I guess they wanted to just get out Enemy, so here's Enemy. You have Shattered Glass Ratbat, and you have Glit / Shattered Glass Ravage, who is probably one of the most popular Shattered Glass cassettes in general, and probably the main draw of the set in terms of the cassettes. I'm going to go through transformations for these. They're pretty simple for the most part. Ratbat is probably the best one in tape mode, as we'll see here in a second. Unfortunately, his robot mode is pretty lame and has basically 0 articulation, so do with that information what you will. You basically just fold him up. The one irony though with Ratbat is that even though he has the best cassette mode, probably, he's really hard to get into Soundwave, and like he gets stuck and I have to spudger to get him out. It looks fine, you know, the head is just right there. Other than that, for the most part, it looks more like a tape than anybody else, but getting him into Soundwave, he's the only one where like the gimmick feels like it doesn't work, you know, and that's a bit of a bummer. Oh my god. Oh, I did it. Oh my god, I did it. I don't know why he was fighting me so hard before. But then he doesn't want to... Okay, there we go. I guess if you want to put it in, make sure you put it in. This way. Oh, shit. Okay. He still gets stuck, but don't put it in with the gold facing out. And there's like a gap right here where you can just stick your spudger in and start pulling him out. So don't put him in gold side first, okay? That's my bad. Next we have Ravage, who's actually articulated. You have a ball joint at the head, which gets you a ton of range. You have a hinge in the neck for transformation, which gets you a ton of range. You have ball jointed shoulders, double jointed for the front arms. And then you have a single joint here for the back legs, which are on a ball joint, torso, and tail. So Ravage is very articulated. It can be kind of fiddly because of the small size, but I actually do quite enjoy it. I did manage to get some cute poses out of it. The cassette mode, though, is kind of a joke. It's just like a folded up cat. It's not really trying to be anything else. It fits into Soundwave really easily because it's smaller than Ratbat. Basically too easily, it just falls right out. So there is that, you know, and you can obviously put it in, close the tape door, etc. And then finally we have Enemy, who has the hardest transformation by far. There's a lot of really tiny parts in this guy that are just not fun to handle. In my opinion, I've also seen a copy that's broken, so I would be really careful with these hinges here because they can, you know, crack. He also has these guns molded on his back, which I do appreciate. It's kind of cool. He doesn't have handheld ones. He does have an accessory before I transform him, which is basically you can tilt the hands up like this. There's a tab, and you can come in and you can take his 2 pile drivers. He has 2 of these, and you can just pull that out, extend it, and then plug that in, which is nice. The pile drivers don't store anywhere, but it's nice that they exist, I guess. In terms of the transformation, you're just going to want to push these in. You're going to want to then slide this all the way down, turn the head around, turn the head around, and then the legs are the tricky part. It's a little bit not intuitive. You fold up the feet. I didn't go through his articulation. Oops. Head is on a ball joint. Can go up all the way, side to side, ball joint, ball joint, ball joint, the usual. So 90s for the arms, biceps will go on a ball joint, universal shoulder ball joint. Ball jointed hips get you up to 90, and if the gun pack isn't in the way because of mid-transformation, that gets you back to 90 as well. 90-degree knee, no thigh swivel, and then his ankles rock up and down, and they have an ankle swivel. So like I was saying, you slide the gun pack down, turn the head around, pop that down, the arms just stay in position. Now the legs, you pull the legs back. This part is always really tricky because it's like a ratcheted hinge almost, so it feels really weird. And then it's like a soft click, but it does not feel fun to do because there's a lot of leverage in a rather tiny piece of plastic. And then here's his tape mode. It looks really bad from the front. That's just his torso. The other side looks not great either. Definitely one of the worst tapes. Eject/rewind from Blaster is a lot better. This review's going kind of slow, guys. Sorry. I'm kind of a little bit tired. I don't know why. In terms of size comparisons, I kind of wish I didn't transform this guy. So again, just be really careful about these parts, yeah, because they do feel kind of fragile, and I have seen someone where theirs was cracked. So I would just be careful with this guy, even if he is a little goober. The transformation isn't hard. It's just fiddly and really hard to show on camera because he's the size of my thumb. So let's do some size comparisons really quickly. So here he is obviously with himself, right? Sorry, I mean with the enemy, not with himself. Jesus, I'm fully out of it. Newage's depth charge, so shorter than him. Newage's Mana War / Sea Spray, taller than him. Here's a deluxe. Here's a core. Here's a Legion class figure who is currently on the ground. Fell over. And then a Dr. Wu Micromaster. So, you know, and then here is Ratbat in tape mode. So, you know, he's a respectable size. Between a core and deluxe, I guess. I'm going to get him transformed, and then I'll take a look at his alternate mode. Size comparison in cassette player mode. Here he is with a Legion, Newage, Micromaster from Dr. Wu, core class figure, Newage depth charge, and a deluxe. So he's a box, you know, he's a box. That is what he is, right? Those are little tapes. Those are its enemy and Shattered Glass Ratbat in their tape modes. And let's just take a look at this guy, right? In his, again, cassette player mode, which is really just a box. I mean, it looks fine. It is all painted, but it does end up looking really sparse here, I think. It's really monotone in this mode, just as a result of the deco. It's fine. You know, the door, as always, opens, and you can... I wish I had nails. I don't have nails, man. There you go. If you have nails, it's really easy. You can open, you can, you know, put tapes in and out, you know, so it's not a big issue. That's pretty much it. The guns can store here. It's not that clean from the back, and the transformation isn't super fun. I mean, I really don't have anything else to say. It's just a box. The tip of the gun comes off, and I guess you can, like, plug it in up here, and it's like an antenna or something. I have no idea. I have no clue. I don't know if you can store the pile drivers. I haven't found out how. I don't think you can. But that's pretty much it. I mean, final thoughts? I don't know. Really just a big I don't know. This is a figure with like no glaring flaws, but also no glaring positives. It just very much exists. It is a legend scale Soundwave. I don't think it like has aged necessarily poorly. It's a little bit behind for sure. I mean, it's okay. Like the transformation is all right. It's somehow simpler than Blaster, but also less intuitive. I found Blaster way more fun to transform, despite being complex. And he was way more like fluid in his transformation. It felt logical. This one is just like the arms do basically nothing, and the torso does basically nothing, and you just mess around with the waist, and then the legs are all the work, and they're boring and weird, and that's it. So the articulation is like very much okay. Again, the tolerances on this mold, every single copy I've handled, everyone I see, it's always just a loose mold for some reason. I don't know why. The tapes are all right. Ravage is the best one, but his tape mode is garbage. Ratbat mode is whatever, but his tape mode is pretty good. Enemy is just really dated, and the eject and rewind mold from the Blaster really make it feel like really poor. But for the most part, you know, like I also have no like major flaws. Those are all just nitpicks and criticisms. There's no like really annoying transformation step or really ugly like design choice or anything. Like the design holds up perfectly fine. I mean, you could argue that like maybe the legs are a little bit less clean than they need to be or something here or there, but for the most part, it is very much just legend skill G1 Soundwave. I have nothing like bad to say about this. This is like the definition of a passing score, where you just showed up and you did your job and you put out a good legend skill Soundwave. I guess good is like, you know, I mean, solid, serviceable. Very much just a C average figure, you know, or I guess, you know, for those of us who are a little more generous, I guess a B, but for me it's a C. You know, just it does not wow me in any way, but it also doesn't disappoint me in any way. It's a very curious figure in that regard. I don't mind it at all, and I think it's pretty cool, and I like how it can pose sometimes. But, you know, for the most part, it is what it is. No glaring positives, no glaring negatives. I think Blaster just shows like how this could have been done better, but it also does not. It's not that far behind where it feels like it needs a 2.0 at all. Really, if I'm being honest, it's fine. It holds up perfectly fine. It holds up way better than most of the Newage toys from this era. I have to be honest. So if you're like into Soundwave and you're into Legends class figures, definitely give this guy a spin. I think like he's pretty. I mean, it's like $60 or $55 for him, but he comes with 3 tapes, so there's a bunch of play value there. It's not bad. I mean, the Chug Voyager with 3 tapes is also $55 to put things in perspective. So it's not a bad price at all. And the tapes here are definitely better than the Chug tapes. So, you know, it's all right. I can recommend it if you're into it. If you're not into it, you can pass it. But if you're into it, sure, why not? It's not something. It's not a must-have, and it's not like a can't-miss release. Excuse me. But for the most part, it's pretty solid. All right, that's it. Thank you again, Slow Love, for letting me take a look at this. Again, link to my Discord in the description, and hope you all have a great day. Peace.